And no change on the first three. I'll deal with them after. Okay. Circle back to them. Okay, I'd like to open up the May 15th meeting 2023 zoning board of appeals. We have 6 items on the agenda. The first 3 we'll put off and deal with afterwards. They won't be, they'll probably just be postponed. So I'll take the last 3 in the order they're on the agenda. Deer Lake Holdings. Welcome back.
Thank you. My name is Alex Thomas. I believe Travis Carter was here last time representing Deer Lake.
Yeah.
He could not make it this trip, so I've come in his presence.
Okay. And he sent, or you sent, I'm not sure.
Yes, I've been providing Lisa with additional information. I'm sure she's tired of my calls and emails, but based on the last meeting, I think the conclusion was that there was additional information that needed to be provided from us, and we hope that we have done so here in the revised application. We have provided one additional information that relates to the necessary hardship for current ownership based on the property being zoned industrial. We have provided estimated returns for the permitted uses as part of the industrial zoning, which we provided in a table. We've also provided some information as it relates to the ownership's original investment in the property 30 years ago, when he developed the property for Kitty Drugs in 1994. Additionally, we have received a letter from the realtor, Neil Cassette, who I believe is a reputable agent in the community, on his marketing efforts over the last, call it 3 years. The property's been on the market since August 2020 for sale and for lease, and there really have been no prospective or interested parties until myself, part of the Deer Lake Holdings, said reached out to Neil about 6 months ago to acquire interest in the property as it relates to our retail use that we would like to be granted for today.
Okay. Four of us were here last one. You were not, but you're up to speed on what they're looking to do. Correct.
Yes.
Okay. She wasn't happy when she heard it, but
Yeah, without, and I don't know if you were able to read Neil's letter, but obviously there's, he's had extensive marketing efforts, those online, which is where I procured the listing or saw the listing. I know they talked about the signage last time, which I believe the signage was put up at the property a little bit later on, but it has been up for almost a year now. And then the properties have been on the market on listings and through his website and blasts for over 2.5 years.
I don't remember if I saw in here the listing. What did it show for type of property?
So for sale and for lease, and I want to say,
I thought I read that. It says 3-star retail suburban
yeah,
on the staple page behind Neil's letter. Zoning commercial.
Three-star retail. Oh, that's the building.
Oh.
Okay.
Go under Wayne, yeah,
Building commercial. So He misrepresented. And that one might be quite wise. Okay, any questions? from anyone in the I don't believe I held a public hearing last time, so I'll open up to the public. Anyone in the public that wants to address 52 Point Ave? No, if not, I will close the public hearing. Then. Yes. Seeker. Actually, beforehand, I'm not sure if I did it. There was something from the Community Development Office. See if I can find that. Am I correct, Lisa?
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
what is must?
Yes. Okay, here we go. The new head. This is from the Community Development Department of the City of Plattsburgh. Did you get a copy of that? No. She says that the application appears incomplete. Request appears to be for a blanket retail business use variance without identification of the specific. She says it's therefore not possible to conceptualize what the potential impacts may be should this application be approved, but we've since discussed what the specifics are. And
That was based on last month's application.
yes, but what they sent us didn't clarify that either. It's only been in verbal order. Yes. The applicant notes in the application that the site has been either vacant or an insignificant generator of consumer activities for nearly a decade. So there is insufficient information by which to review the application should the ZBA choose to continue consideration of the application, although we've gotten a lot more. Recommended that the ZBA consider the site's immediate surroundings, the adjacent residential neighborhood located across the street. Please also note that there is existing substantial traffic congestion along this stretch of Point Ave at certain times of day. The congestion can be further exacerbated at times by the nearby rail crossing, which if you've ever been there when the train's gone by. Yes, but careful consideration should be given to the impacts related to increased vehicle and pedestrian trips to the site in response to the new neighborhood retail business. Retail businesses do generate significant greater visitation to the site than industrial uses of both frequency and quantity of transportation trips. Typically, those trips are vehicle related, which we discussed last time around. Projection of these related trips should be provided along with the provision of adequate related on-site facilities and plan to provide efficient and safe vehicular bike and pedestrian flows when entering and exiting the site. Requested the ZBA confer with the building inspector on whether a referral of the application for site plan review under a section of zoning code for a conversion of use would be recommended, but I believe we talked about that. There's no basis really to do it because it's too small in size. Am I correct? Right. And size being square footage of retail space, it has to be 10,000. 10,000. This is just under.
Just under about 9,500.
They probably built it that way. back in the day. So there that is into record. Take it and assess it on your own, on its own merits. Okay. Shall we do the seeker? Let's see. Oh. I think the fact that you aren't changing anything exterior wise.
This will be some signage, and the facade will have some very minor changes, but site plan is not changing, the structure and improvements will not be changing at all there.
Okay.
A very limited disruption to the property.
For the most, everything in this.
Really, it's as is.
I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Yep. So,
I make a motion for the full environmental assessment form for appeal 2348, that after review of the assessment form that the fair find that there is little or no environmental impact. That we may sign. That's not.
don't sign it.
Oh, right. Second.
Second by Ellie. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Now, this is. Class A use variance. Based on that, the criteria to approve it. We have 4 criteria to review, or basically to use in your decision. Lack of reasonable return. Demonstrate that why the hardship is unique to the property. It does not apply to a substantial portion of the neighborhood. Show that granting this use variance will not change the essential character of the neighborhood. And why the alleged hardship has not been self-created. And you have not purchased the land yet, correct or not? So it's sitting out there, the applicant is looking to buy it. And basically it's been this way for nothing's changing. So then based on that and the review of what they've given us, we'll vote accordingly. If I get a motion.
I make a motion to approve appeal number 2348 for class A use variance to operate a retail business in an industrial zone district.
Oh.
Is it 13?
Yes.
Okay, you've got 5 yes votes. Thank you, appreciate you
Thank you.
participating in the process. I'm sorry about what happened last month. But
I'll tell them that Yeah, good news, not in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is 2350 Ryland McKay.
Hey, everybody. I'm looking for events, so I can normal work.
There it is.
Been in part of a. Study for doing like this. I, there's something to read, so I didn't ramble, because that's kind of in my wheelhouse. Evening, everyone, I'm Ryan McKay. I don't really know any of you really well, so I thought I'd tell you just kind of about myself. I am a mom, a homeowner, a business owner, small business owner, I'm a teacher. I'm part of the Pastor Arts Coalition, I'm trying to work for them. I am also for the Lakes and Earth Fence Planning Committee, also the treasurer for them. And I have a small studio in my home at the location that we are talking about. And I run a small jewelry business out of that home. My husband is a nurse, but I see in the ICU at CBH. I have two children. It's a dad one. I thought I'd bring her along, but I find it interesting for her to learn about how things get done in life. It's important for them to learn that. So I am here today to ask you guys for a variance on my property for a privacy fence in my front yard. And as I understand it, if I want a fence over 4 feet in my front yard, it must be set back 25 feet from my property line, which I'm a little iffy on where my property line is, but that's okay. I'm asking for a 4-foot variance so the fence can be aligned with the porch for aesthetic purposes. My porch is 21 feet back from my property line. I do understand that 4 feet doesn't seem like a lot. It's really not about the square footage for us, it's more about the aesthetic of the house. You know, we have a nice large yard, so we're not worried about only density if we don't have a large space. It's really about the house. The reason I bought the house is we fell in love with it, even before we moved to Plattsburgh. When we saw it for sale, we wanted it, and we tried really hard to say we love it. I don't know if you know the house, but it used to be a Bryce Child shadow here. And we really put in a lot of effort into making it beautiful again. We've been working on the inside as best we can, and we've done a ton of work on the inside. And this is the summer to start on the outside. Landscaping and doing things for home. So in my family runs a lot of like architecture, home design, interior design, home remodeling on both sides, my husband and my own. And we feel really strongly about the outside of our home and what it looks like and how it appears to the community. We really want to have a home that people want to drive by for years to come and have it be absolutely beautiful. That's our end goal. We want it to be eye-catching. There's some homes in downtown Plattsburgh that when I drive by them, you can tell they're historical, they're gorgeous, and just beautiful. That's what we want to make. So I'm asking that the fence be in line with the porch, purely for aesthetic reasons. I would like to have it work with the architecture of the home. I'm hoping you see the value in keeping this beauty of this gorgeous historical home while still allowing privacy for us as a family. We do live on a very busy street. There are, I've just listed some reasons why we are looking for a privacy fence. So I have young children on a very busy street with many people biking, walking, driving. I would like to feel comfortable, like with my daughter being outside with not all eyes on us at all times, because that's pretty much how it feels every day. I'd also like to have events, like I want to be a part of this community. I want to have barbecues at my house. I want to have people over, and I feel like when we do, it's just all eyes on what we're doing. People drive by, all of what we're doing. We're outside, hula hooping, or doing something, and I just don't 100% feel comfortable because I don't have any privacy. Another reason, and I'm not accentuating this,
Cause I moved into the property knowing what street I moved in on. We do get stuff stolen, we do get things taken from our yard, we do get our property vandalized. So that being said, we do want a privacy area that we can leave things in there. Fence bike has been stolen, other things have been taken from our yard, gardening items, things like that. But, really, in my mind, the biggest thing that I see is like, ever since I bought the house, I wanted to sleep outside under the stars with my daughter, because our, like, right where the trees are, it's really dark, and you can see the stars, and it's amazing. But we've had quite a few instances where people run through our yard in the middle of the night. We find cans and broken bottles in our yard, in the middle of the yard, not next to our other fence, which we love and won't be taken down, obviously, that's an historical part of the house, but, yeah. That's my fight.
Thank you.
There's no detail on the type of fence you're looking to put in.
Oh, okay, so, I do like a really rudimentary. fence. It's going, I think I don't know if I actually included this with it. I drew a better one today that would show you more what it looks like.
So it's gonna be solid though,
Um,
or is it see-through?
Well, I don't know, I mean, I want it to be solid, that's what I would hope. And I want it to be as tall as you would allow, so I may have as much privacy as I can. Is kind of what we're looking for,
So,
yeah.
I mean, so the two options to do it without a variant would be to use a 4-foot fence. Or to put a 6-foot fence a little further back, maybe at that first post on the porch.
Right, and my thinking of that is to preserve the historical property of the home and to have it look aesthetically pleasing. Is kind of mine, so I'm willing to work with you guys on, I don't want a 4-foot fence because that doesn't provide any privacy. Somebody can see everything that you're under a 4-foot fence. So, I don't know, I'm willing to wait too, like if you guys, if we want to work together, you know. If there's more you can from me and you want to talk to me about what's gonna be best for the property and what you're going to allow, like I'm not, you know.
How tall is the railing gonna be? Or
It's actually higher than 6 feet, it's about 7 feet, so it would not go that high, it would be below that, yes.
right? And there was not detail, or at least you couldn't tell where the fence was going.
Yeah, so that's another thing that I want to talk about. So I did a little bit better aerial view, if I can just leave that with you guys. So that was a little better because it has color and you can kind of see a little bit more of the property. So we are also going to be, sorry to put some of these kind of words, we are going to be applying for a permit for a garage. And we know what the stipulations are for that, the setback, the space around it, but I've read all that, and haven't gotten around to doing that yet, because we haven't gotten detailed plans done. So what that means is that we will be finishing the third side of the fence when those plans get set. So like, we'll do the 2 sides of the fence before, if we are okay with that. Yes, exactly. So coming off the porch at the bottom, and then back from the large bush in the front yard. And then after we get the plans verified to you guys for a garage, then we would then encompass and finish it.
That's sprinkler product.
Yeah, here, yeah, let me point out, yeah, so this is, no,
No.
bring it up this way,
You don't have-
this is couch right here,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and then this is North Catherine, and that's why,
Oh.
this is where we do. Yeah, this is where we do all of our barbecuing, playing, hanging out, right, so it's a very busy street. You know, and, you know, what we get a lot are people, there's a lot of
Student.
colorful, yeah. Colorful language and things going on, which is okay, I live in the city, I'm not worried about that. I just want to have a space where I can be private.
So on that plan, you're setting around the rectangular boxes where you're envisioning the garage.
Yes, exactly, I do that and I realized that you guys would need that, yeah.
Well,
And the rectangular box of the garage will be actually kind of set back, if you look at that. We have to set it back in order to have space to drive in and all that, and for the, needs of the zoning. Mhm. Which we're fine with, we don't mind that.
well, the part that you add on of the fence will not need a variance because that is all allowed.
Okay, I didn't
Yes.
mention what was allowed in that side,
You have to say, you basically have 2 front yards.
It's very confusing.
So both of those sides have the same requirement. So whatever requirement you have
Right,
on North Captain, you have the same requirement on Cabbage.
okay,
So
yeah.
as long as you.
That's where we park our cars anyway, so we wouldn't be putting anything here.
So do you have a sense of, I guess what I'm lacking in my head is what will the community be looking at when they see this fence? Is it gonna be white vinyl? It's gonna be wood box? Is it gonna be black iron?
No, it's
What are
gonna
your-
be, it's gonna actually, we're redoing the entire outside of the house this summer. And we are changing the baby blue that is all around the bottom to a dark, like forest green. And, because I'm not a green person, so, and stuff needed to be redone, so we decided to redo it in a different color. And then, so what we're gonna do with the fence, or what I'm envisioning, is a green, like stained wood, so not green, but like a very light stained wood. Where you stain it multiple times and it'll all be my dad is built for homes and was a carpenter and electrician himself, and he would be helping my husband and I make it beautiful. I also plan on putting in, I'm an artist, right? So is my grandmother, 2 years. I also plan on putting some stained glass pieces into the fence and adding just some fun artistic touches to the fence. The fence will be, and I can guarantee this, absolutely beautiful. Because that's just that's the way that I do things. It'll be beautiful. I don't know if I want the arches, but I kind of feel like it would look nice because of the way the house is. Because there's the windows, I don't know if you know the windows upstairs on the 3rd floor, there's the arching windows, so I thought it would like add a little bit.
You don't say historic review.
It's RH, I think. I don't
It
know.
is,
It's
it's a
R,
historic, already residential historic.
yeah.
I'll double check that.
I got some multiple people about that down here and they said no. Because it's residential historic and not straight historic.
Okay.
But I am willing to wait if you need to check that, no problem.
Well, no, that's up to the building inspector's
Okay.
office when they issue you a building permit. If it has to go, they want people to see. You have to get that.
This is our first go around, so we haven't done this yet.
They're supposed to be the experts.
Is the setback supposed to be 25 feet?
Yes.
Is,
You want me to show you where it'll,
well, I'm just wondering if, so, I mean, the porch is. So is the porch over the set? Over the
yeah,
set?
you're all right, so
Yes.
it,
Yes,
not
the
like
porch
I
is
said,
in the front yard setback.
I'm not sure where our property line is because I haven't had it professionally done yet. I want to, but I haven't yet. So if we start from the edge of the sidewalk, the inner edge of the sidewalk, from the inner edge of the sidewalk to the edge of my porch is 21 feet.
The setback would be from,
If it was 25 feet, I would have to go 4 feet back into my porch to start the.
I mean, where does the setback start from? Does it start from the sidewalk?
I know this is where I have a lot of issues with myself.
In theory, yes, but in reality, Not necessarily, there's a set right of way. That we were talking about downstairs for the width of the road, you can do it from the center of the road.
That's what my dad was saying, but I didn't know, I wasn't about, I didn't want to be presumptuous, but.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
width of the,
Yeah, it's not perfectly accurate though.
yeah,
And we have a really large green space, like the section that we mow, you know, where the trees are, it's like really, really wide.
But I'm saying that it wouldn't come any further into this setback than the visual and the porch already is, right?
correct.
So I can't, I'm not my public, but I feel like I recall another time where there was a fence that wanted to go over, and there's something about if you had lattice work at the top, that doesn't count as part of the height, is that correct?
I was actually gonna ask that question.
If you did 4 feet and then
I
the
was-
lattice work.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to do too much against the hospital.
Oh, that might be a good
I
compromise.
think Lattice was included.
It is. included.
Yes.
It's.
Yeah. I don't believe the posts are included in that way. Where the post goes a little bit above,
Gotcha.
you know, if it goes on six inches above with a.
That ended up being the solution for someone like a year or two ago.
That's the guy who knows the code inside of that.
You can't have a 6 foot fence and then just put lattice on top of it.
Yeah, I don't think Lattice is part of it. It'd be nice.
So the question I have is, if this was remeasured from the center of the road, would it go in our favor or our favor in terms of any differences, or do you think that's like negligible?
That's just a tool that we use to get a general idea of the vicinity of something. It's not. Anywhere near as accurate as a survey really, because sometimes it's skewed to one side of the road or the other. You know, if you can use that information paired up with some landmarks to get yourself some useful information, but
Well, that's a very narrow road.
Yes.
It's
It
lanes,
is.
it's 2 lanes only. So
And it's,
the road
you're right, it's quite narrow.
is probably only 18 feet.
Yeah, I thought about in the future if they would end up taking a little bit of the green away and widening it because it's so narrow. Yeah.
And it looks like you have about 6 feet from the sidewalk to the curb. So it's like, how wide is the sidewalk there?
Three and something, or 4 feet, or something?
they're usually 4 feet.
About 4 feet, yeah.
And the green is half again that. Looking at the area pretty much like that right there. Okay. So the design hasn't been set.
If you need a design, I have no problem getting a design for you, if you're interested in seeing that, not at all.
I'm relieved that it's not going to be a big vinyl fence.
Oh, I can't even, no. I won't say that.
It will stay in the nature of the house.
It will stay very much in nature. I've been struggling with because the house is all white. So I'm struggling with what color to make a fence, because I love a wood fence. But it doesn't really go with anything, any part of the house. So but there is a possibility that my husband will win and we might want to do a wood, you know, like a stained wood style, but I kind of wanted to do green because we're finishing all the stairs in this, you know, green, and not the stairs yet, but like all the siding is green and we're redoing it all. So siding, do you have a front view? Oh yeah, on the front view where all that blue is. Under the porch, we're redoing all, it's all rotten all along the bottom. And so we're gonna redo that in the dark room, which if you drive by our side porch, yeah, everything's.
So wait a minute. So with the variance, in other words, if there was a change to the fence, would that require a new variance? In other words.
I mean, if you need to see that, that's okay. with me.
Well, I guess what I'm wondering is that let's say. For some reason you were to move, it doesn't sound like it. But let's say for some reason you did, and somebody wanted to replace it with a 6-foot vinyl fence, would that require any?
That's a good question. Yeah,
If they have an existing fence and they want to replace it, it would not require another variance. I don't believe, am I correct?
so you're worried that somebody would wanna put something in that's not aesthetically pleasing.
Those just build, once they have the fence there, then it can be replaced. with-
I mean, I don't think that you can take it down and put it up a year
Right,
later,
just.
but if you're replacing it right away.
It'll be solid.
So then I have one other sort of question, is there any sort of a? So if the building, I'm assuming that this. House is older than the setback requirement.
123 years old.
So would that, so would the floor plan of the building establish a grandfather setback for the property?
No,
No, just. It can stay where it is and be rebuilt exactly where it is. Although if it goes to the ground, no. Yeah, like what happened at the other corner, yeah. When that hurt to the ground, all of a sudden, all pre-existing went away.
Because it was homeowner anyone? Yeah,
Basically,
it was
once,
city.
yeah,
Yeah, residents.
the old Engelhard house, when that hurt to the
Yeah.
ground. All of a sudden, any rebuilding has to occur, so it
Has to be, I didn't hear. It
has to meet current zoning.
Oh, interesting, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's a new structure,
Yes,
and yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and then I wonder what's gonna happen. I just keep looking.
okay, there was a comment. On the building, community development. Let's see if I can- that is in here.
And in my question, saying that I've heard because zoning, there's a rewrite going on, or like a planning rewrite.
There
Or
is,
zoning?
the planning and zoning is in the process of being assessed and possibly rewritten.
Parts of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And that's all kind of up in the air, but I wouldn't wait around for that.
Oh, no, I just had heard and I was wondering if that was the case.
Well, and I don't think that it's gonna, they aren't gonna touch things like setbacks.
It's pretty basic.
Yeah. From the planning staff. She indicates no hardship is identified by the applicant, and the lot does not appear to demonstrate any unique characteristics that prevent or make it difficult for the applicant to comply with the zoning code. The applicant's only explanation of this appears to be that it will enhance the beauty of the home and property, which is a very subjective statement without providing details of the design or style of the proposed fencing. Design style of fencing could minimize or compound the impacts of the request. It should therefore be considered along with the request. Fencing fence regulations within urban front yard setbacks are typically established with lower height regulations for the purposes of ensuring safety as well as the interest of preserving unobstructed views or unobstructed flow of light, air, and view of open front yards in order to promote health, safety, and welfare. So the property abutting the applicant's property to the north is presently undeveloped. There is potential of the driveway being installed near this property border upon future development. You do realize the property just north of you is not part of the Cheeseburger house.
I do, actually, part of the reason why we're putting up the fence is because we finally get enough contract on things without buying. We want to buy it, we would like to buy it, but it's just not in the cards for us,
Okay,
yeah. That would be insane.
a 6-foot high front yard fence built to what appears to be a 0 side yard setback could pose a hazard to pedestrians and drivers by obstructing the vision clearance of drivers entering or exiting the property to the north along the shared lot line. From seeing pedestrians or other cars approaching. Approving this variance would impact the future safety and full enjoyment of the property to the north. Attempts to use all the terms that are in our code. Primarily for this purpose, it is recommended that the variance be denied. It's also noted the property is located in the RH zoning district. Zoning regulations of this district were established for the purpose of preserving the aesthetics of the area. A 6-foot front yard fence is not in keeping with residential character.
Am I allowed to say
Yeah,
anything? I
please.
try to be as respectful as possible. My husband and I have had a house for 4 years now. And in that 4 years, there are not a lot of people on the street that we live on that care about their homes as much. There are some. And, it would be a bummer, that we want to really make that house amazing and be denied something that is gonna give us just a way to really enjoy the property. I mean, I am an aesthetic person. And I really would like to not have the fence start at 4 feet out of the bush, but. That's just my wish.
It's interesting you mentioned about people on your street, the former chair of the ZBA was on Couch Street.
I don't know if you really,
Okay.
we chatted, he
Okay.
gives me too many peppers.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, he's peppery. Yeah, he actually helped me, you know, a little bit with this, we didn't get to chat as much as I wanted about, you know, what I needed to do. We had some, he was very, super helpful, which is really nice to have him as a friend and neighbor, yeah. But I mean, I love everyone that lives on the street. I'm actually close with the students, the homeowners, all of my neighbors. I have no druthers with the people that live on that street. I'm just really wanting to have a private space for us to enjoy part of our yard.
Go back to the freeway. So. I guess my question is, I just wanna. If a 6-foot fence came from the second post, what would be your feelings? I mean, if it was a difference between.
That with the lines of the home, I mean, being a geometry math person, I have a background in math, I like the way things look, that's, you know, to the eye, are they pleasing to the eye, does it look correct? And that is what we are trying to do. It also, the bush that's off to the side, if you can kind of pan sideways, I don't know if you can do that with this, but
This picture, but I can go with it.
if you pan sideways, there's a really nice giant bush, I'm sure it's in the shade of my heart. That will, what we want to do is we want the fence to end kind of like what we would like to do is have the fence come off the side of the porch and then kind of like end into the bush. I kind of envisioning that look. We actually won't completely close that corner off. And really, if anybody was worried about pulling into the home, if there was, you know, home put in next door, that bush already obscures everything. It's huge, you know, it's massive. So a fence would not actually take away any sight from that side. If you were to put in, if they decided to put in a driveway right there, that
Is the bush on your lot?
the bushes are, yes. Our property ends right at, so almost about right. Our property ends right about. Actually, no, there's the marker right there, little orange marker. Our property ends past that. So we're actually not encompassing our entire yard. We're gonna beautify the outside of the fence. Put in lots of bushes that match the same as the home behind us. We want to kind of match the aesthetic of that home to our home. because they were owned by the same people. So we'll be putting in bushes around the outside, similar to what they have.
If the variance were denied, what would your solution?
My solution would be to chat and to see if there was, you know, if there's some way.
Let's say, I'm just playing the devil's advocate.
No, I completely understand.
So if it just wasn't denied, and it wasn't gonna happen, what would you do?
You know, to be honest, I really don't know. It would take me a while to kind of think through that. And decide what I would want to do. I can tell you, I really don't know, because I haven't thought about that. I haven't thought that through.
Well, my feeling. I mean, technically, we could say, you know, no, there's no real reason for it, okay? Because you can easily comply with it, you're not losing much. And you're playing the aesthetics card. Okay, which is a valid thing to say. But I think that if we're going to look at it from that standpoint, I personally would like more information, firm information,
No problem,
as to what it would look like, because that's essentially what
no problem.
you're asking us to do is say, okay,
Yep.
aesthetically, it's gonna look better,
Mhm.
but you aren't giving us what it's gonna look like.
You got it, I completely understand.
That's my feelings, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
My feeling is that, I agree with that. I would like to just have a little bit more information about what you're going to be installing, simply
Mhm.
because that's normally what we do.
Yep.
We have more details.
no problem.
But my feeling also is. This is not well, if you're gonna do a red fence, then you're gonna get a no, but maybe if you go with blue, we'll say yes. Right? So, aesthetically. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. We are tasked with, are we going to allow you a 6-foot fence or not within that setback? When I first came out here, I'm not gonna lie, I was gonna say no. Because I felt that we had talked, we were looking at the line of the house, and aesthetically, from my perspective, I thought it would look better lined up with the house. With the porch out, but I didn't realize you had the wraparound porch, because when I went to look at your house, I had to park on the other side.
Yes,
And I just saw the front and I thought that was what you had for the porch, I didn't realize you had wraparound. And now I actually agree with you, the aesthetic would look better with the line of the fence, and because. The porch is already in the setback. It gives us something to think about.
okay,
I agree, and I also feel that the safety, because the biggest thing for me generally with the fence is that it's blocking views for the road, but I don't think in this location, it's gonna be.
it's also, you're not looking for traffic coming from that direction, not that it doesn't. It does. No, it's a motorized, scooters, bicycles, just flying up the wrong direction, happens all the time, so,
It's an issue on sidewalks. Yes.
yeah.
Okay, so then, I guess since you seem willing to do that. I guess I'd like to postpone on our behalf. The request for more information.
You got it. So, are we looking at like a design for the fence and a more, clear picture of what it would look like?
Materials would be nice too,
Okay,
so we
yeah,
have.
no problem. Yeah, you got it.
I got a motion.
I want to ask one quick question.
Yep.
Yes.
Mhm.
Wrap it. Should you? She come back with a design for. A stunning fence, which I have no doubt, because you do stained glass, I do stained glass, so much.
Yeah.
Can we put a stipulation in the variance that? Should that fence be removed, it cannot be replaced? With a vinyl fence, or you will need to seek a new variance, or can you put some language that we have some kind of say on future fences.
That would be a question for, I'll figure that out.
So we'll answer
I'm
that
not sure. I think that's a
question
great
when you come back.
point, yeah, like if we sell in 15 years, what are they gonna put up?
Right.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to postpone appeal 2350 until the June meeting on behalf of the board.
Let's do it to July, just in case there's
Oh,
conflict.
so June or July. Yeah.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay,
Okay,
is there anything else that you need from me besides that, the materials and a quality, you know, like a good view of what it's gonna look like?
yeah, I think that would be, I'm sorry, no, one other thing, a little more definition on property line.
Okay, I'll probably get a survey then. We've been wanting to anyway, so,
I mean,
Like,
even
yeah.
if you do it from the center of the road and say, okay, here's what
Yeah.
it is. Just so that our ducks are in a row,
Yeah.
if we do approve it, that
okay.
we're aware of exactly what we're approving.
And I also feel like it would be good if I want to put it in front of the garage,
Yes.
and to have all that in the order and stuff.
Yeah.
You just need to
Okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. You were very patient. No.
Okay. Matthew, we'll find it.
Well, I guess.
That's a day today. Okay. You're looking at putting up the fence also.
Yes. Right.
We're looking from Louisiana.
Yep. So I guess we found out, we're doing this process that our house has 3 front yards.
Yes.
We never guessed that, but I didn't know that's the way it worked, having that kind of stream on every cycle, 3 sides of the house. So yeah, we're hoping to put it's gonna be the 6-foot weight final.
Sorry.
Sorry.
No, it's, well, I mean, you are in the historical, it's not historical. It's not.
It's pretty much everyone in that area is going on. A little bit down is black line, but most of them are white line. Again, it doesn't match with the steel trim of the house, which a lot of it, well. I guess, like I said, I guess I was taking things, we just redid the landscaping and the decks and the eaves of the house are painted already. There was no red, but.
Your fireplace is stunning.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's one of the things we fell in love with. So that was.
Oh, that you know,
No, we just bought it in the house in September. Yeah, that was definitely something that we. Something that was pretty awesome. Some gas heaters, which would work. We haven't used it yet, but too much things going on in the house. Construction wise, just finished stuff inside and. Now we're doing the outside, you know, it was previously. Or for us, Susan, that bunch of gardens, like that big generator that was straight ahead and one off to the right of the picture. You can see kind of by the corner of the house. Huge gardens, she had. Which we raised with the building grass, and we have 3 little dogs, so. It's one of the major reasons for the fence. Begins by a. Not really a busy street, but, you know. A lot of people now with sidewalks, especially walk by and. A lot of people with other dogs, so it's definitely better than.
So, so again, that, a 4-foot fence would be acceptable. Is,
We're hopefully the 6 with a, you know, privacy, yeah, and I'm discussing, a lot of angles. Everyone
Granted, there's not a lot of houses, but a lot of people, a lot of people walk by and they're outside. We can just. Our little dogs can drive very good, so. Hopefully we do it for people, but. Again, it's just privacy. And. Mainly privacy, and this is also getting the dogs. Good, as well as the backyard, worry about it. Run away.
One of the questions I had earlier, there's a little, bush hedgerow sticky thing by the transformer
Yeah,
right here in the corner. Is that yours or is that your neighbor's here?
like almost like the line of bushes.
Yeah,
Those are others, which would be. Specifically, if we left them there, the fence would go behind it.
on the house side
And
of,
like get a neighbor's side,
okay,
kind of go. We would have to remove some of them for the fence posts. So we didn't know if we're gonna take down, what just has to be taken down or all of them, just because the fence will be there. Sort of upkeep maintenance, stuff, we're at the. And overgrowing fence. What are the same outline you see in the front yard? So like there, see kind of. It is bushes.
so I'm gonna present a scenario and ask you your thoughts on it, okay? So I was there and I sat a little bit in the front just to look at the property from the Main Street perspective, and then I came up and parked on the Louisiana Street corner. And looked at that perspective for a few minutes, and was just kind of looking around the neighborhood, and there were several people that had, there was a woman that went jogging, there were a couple that were walking, dogs and stuff, and I just was kind of checking out the traffic and thinking if there was a big 6-foot fence right there, that would be a very different view for those people. 6 foot is a pretty sizable fence, and especially that's a pretty sizable amount of fencing on a walkway like that, so. Coming off the end of your house back there and then coming up along the bushes. You're allowed the small part by your house, but then only a very small part coming towards the road. Hypothetically, if we were to say, yes, you can have a 6 foot between yourself and that house. But a smaller level, a smaller height for the rest of it, would you be willing to go down some? There's a pretty decent distance between this side and your neighbors across the street, like that road is pretty wide and there's a good front yard, and you know what I mean, like. We've got some distance there that helps you with that privacy piece. If we were to allow a 6 foot on 2 of your 4 sides, would you be open to going down to potentially 5?
So like,
Coming out from the corner of your house and up to the transformer,
so I kind of would like this side as well, or this side.
right,
So, you know,
coming out
each
and
feet that they were doing here, this side and then this wall. And then you should make it so it's like,
because that house is the closest thing to you, really. I'm not speaking for the board, I don't even know if they would allow that. I'm just saying, would you consider some flexibility if we could give you 6 foot in certain places?
better than nothing, but preferably, I think we'd like it around. But again. Something is better than nothing, but of course, and prefer keep it the same. Look going all around.
Was there is a question, I think it was in the, from the planning board about the accuracy of the drawing.
Yeah.
Because it is so hard to tell, but if, so coming off of this, coming off of the far corner, this point.
Yeah.
And it comes into the setback quite a bit, right? And then less as it goes along Louisiana Avenue. Would, and this is just, again, it's just sort of a supposition. If the fence line followed the curve more of the road, So that the setback, so the interference in the setback wasn't so severe. Would you be able to work with that?
Oh, yeah, and we kind of thought that pretty fence kind of didn't know exactly where to go, this was before the sidewalk even was dug yet or nothing, so we didn't know exactly where it was going. We kind of just idea where it might be, since like some numbers might have been a little off. Now that we know where the sidewalk is, because it's there, and you probably get definitely more perfect.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but that back corner of your house where the 18 feet comes off. That corner, according to the plans, is 20 feet from your property line.
So we know, yeah, so I guess you can't.
I'm sorry, 25? What's the setback there?
I'm just looking at the zoning district there.
It's it, the house was plopped on that lot. And it just fits inside of the setbacks. 20. So that corner of the house, at least according to the plans on file in the city, is 20 feet from your property line as the closest distance.
Okay. We go to BT and something.
Well, you're not going directly
Yes.
towards it, but you're gonna be 17 feet.
Yeah.
So you're 3 feet from your property line. Which is significant. I'm not sure exactly where the sidewalk ended up, but according to the plans that were filed, that's. Unfortunately, I spoke to Kyle about it and he left for a couple of weeks.
Of course, well, if it needs to be brought in at 18 feet, we're more than willing, because again, you kind of just like, where do you think you want it? I was like. Maybe like, the sidewalk's gonna be here, so maybe this area, so if we need to go 10 feet out or whatever, like that's not gonna. Affect really us at all.
It's more accurate, I think a more accurate site,
Yeah.
site drawing would help and an indication of where the setback is. So that we could see exactly what the variance are asking for, how much of the setback it would violate. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if we were, it's like. I'm more on the board, so
No, that's,
so, I mean, approving like a 3-foot interference into the setback is a lot different than approving an 18-foot interference into the setback.
yeah, I think we have an issue with the amount we're into the setback. Granted, you have a unique lot. And that's working in your favor along this line. At least in my opinion, it does. It meets one of the criteria, what is unique that requires a variance that your neighbors don't need. But getting that close to a property line in a front yard setback is concerning, especially in a neighborhood like that. We have granted them right on the property line. But the only one that I remember where we did that was a very unique situation. It's on Broad Street. And, the clientele walking down Broad Street are different than clientele walking down Maine and Louisiana.
Yeah, so that would be, of course, on the right side, is it 24 feet or when you circle, that's, of course, the pins are there, so that one was easy to see what 8 feet in from that pin. But on the other side, we keep in mind when you were, so that's kind of why I guess it's also a little off.
You think you could work with your fencing company. With a more accurate site plan, and work with the fencing company and indicate to them that you're gonna you're going to need a variance of some kind. To put any fence in, I think, or to put any 6-foot fence in, I should say. So to minimize. To work with the fencing company to minimize the degree, the. You know, the violation of the setback as much as possible with the. You know, with the yard that would work for you.
So is that the pin next to the transformer?
Yeah, those little circle, bigger circle around it.
Yes.
Yeah, one property and then. We found, it was literally right next to the transformer. And, actually, that one's the one that, you know, we found, so we did the 8 feet in from that, just to make sure we had enough room for that sidewalk. And we couldn't find the other one. So it wasn't sure. Yeah, so, yeah, that's. Get that into that far post right there. We did 18, which I went out there and double checked, that's what he said, and I went out there to take measure and we. Just to show you how it was.
And is that 24 or 29 feet from the curb?
24. Then of course 41 feet from the center.
41.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would feel more comfortable if I could get more accurate measurements, especially with the sidewalk in there now. See where you're gonna be bringing it out.
So it was like.
Oh, it's so different,
Yeah, so
Wow.
just see regardless.
yeah.
You can see the marginally like old sidewalk.
That, oh, that must be marked where the sidewalk is that?
Yeah, I guess what I heard, I was told.
There's an old
there was
sidewalk.
a sidewalk there, and they planted grass over it.
Oh,
It's looked like when they were digging up the sidewalk,
wow.
they were filling up with concrete and so. So I think there's remnants of it there. We do.
And they widened that,
Oh,
right?
Seems like it.
So we, yeah.
Seems.
But that's where the sidewalk is, where that old sidewalk, or where is it closer to the?
I feel like they put it probably where it was usually, it seems like.
If they widen the road, that would make.
Just get that 18 feet on the other side, so we'll do. Whatever needs to be. Or in, it was just kind of a. Idea at the time for this stuff was put in. So, you know, it doesn't really go out at all, like we were even thinking. Kind of start, don't we come out at all, just start the fence post here at an angle, and go like that, is it possible, we were. Thinking about if it would be too close coming out like this, 18 feet. We just need to go, start the angle immediately, instead of coming out, some other idea.
I personally, I know what they need to, something like this. What's that? And that sort of a solution would make me feel better.
Me too, or even if you came out, had a straight shot out, you know, not 18 feet, but maybe enough for the gate.
Yes,
Yeah,
And then follow your line, I think.
that's, again, if we need to do 5 feet, we can do that, I don't think it's just whatever. I'm not gonna get a gate there, yeah, I don't even need a gate there, like, we're just doing this convenience. So we're putting a big gate on the other side. They're like long words or that, we refuse to still put a gate for convenience, to walk all the way around, but. You know, we only can do like 5 feet out, and that's not like doing for them to do a gate. Some of them are sitting on each side of the. So we only can go with it, it's. Funny, well, it's, you don't really need.
On the, sorry, on the fence proposal, Point B says supply and install a 3-foot high all-way vinyl railings in front of your entryways.
That's
Not
all.
the gates.
No, we're next in the front of the back.
Oh, okay,
So,
so like safety rail.
yeah, safety rail
Okay,
for
so
the-
not,
yeah, I know that.
Okay.
So we, they did the move together.
okay, yeah, I just was like, what are you talking about?
Right, well, I guess I would like maybe. I can open a public hearing and leave it open, correct? Are you here on this fence?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to. Yeah, oh, let me open it to the public. I'd like to hear
Okay,
what you'd like to say.
yes, if you don't mind, I will.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, do you mind if I just read?
Sure.
Because what I did is I actually wrote it down to send it in. Because my wife has Alzheimer's, so it's not too easy for me to get away.
Okay,
I'm her caregiver. Anyway, what I wrote, the neighborhood has been successfully grown within the boundaries of the old base, which was designed efficiently and sensitively for the original residents and natural surroundings. Privacy fencing is strategically situated in the backyard, and now I realize it's a corner lot, so everything is a front yard. And there are 6-foot fences in some of the backyard. But the base in general, which is Lake County Homeowners Association, which we're not part of. I live across the street, I'm at 38 Louisiana. So I pretty much face Matthew's house. The county, the homeowners group, which we're trying to keep, we're not trying to mess up what they started, we're just trying to add to it. And Louisiana is a very quiet street. There are people walking. And up till now, most of us had to walk in the street because we had no sidewalks. There are 2 lots next to me that were never basically, there were no sidewalks. Matt Taylor has been mowing it. I'm not sure because he doesn't own it, but he's been mowing it just to keep the grass down. But we try to keep the neighborhood as nice looking as possible. The proposed fence would negatively impact the front yards existing and the surrounding residents. And even the lots that are not yet developed, which are the ones next to me. Now, I don't see anybody here that own those lots. But that could be a negative for them if they're trying to sell those lots. And somebody has to build there and they would have to face this 6-foot fence. The other part of it is, again, it's a very quiet street. I can see if it was a commercial area where there was a lot of traffic. It would be nice to have a 6-foot fence for privacy. But I don't see where we need a variance to go above 4 foot. Which I think he could put in without any problem, correct?
correct.
There are other ways of doing it too. You could put a hedge. This woman that was here, in my mind, she could put a hedge. And I don't think there's any rule against the hedge. She could go, there are a lot of them in Plattsburgh that are a heck of a lot higher than 6 foot. And you get a lot of privacy. And it might go with her decor that she has. But I think the homeowner needs to find a more fitting option and to what they're going to get done. I'm totally really against it to have a 6-foot fence. if you look at what he wrote in there, there's a section where you talk about the variances. And does it have any kind of impact? And Matthew just wrote, no. He didn't even give a reason why he said it. He just answered, not there, even further page. I don't know. Keep going back. Keep going. Yeah, the page before this. Okay. In my opinion, an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood and will be detrimental to nearby properties. That's one that I say, I really feel all of them should be yes. In my opinion, there are multiple other solutions that would be acceptable without needing a variance, a 4-foot fence, a hedge, etc. I have actually no problem with a 6-foot fence between his house and 38 Louisiana, which is his neighbor, because it gives her privacy also. The issue is where that fence is actually going to go. If you go to that power box and where that property marker is, it almost looks like part of that hedge is on her property. And part of the way it was put in, and part of it swings over to this side of the property. But I have no problem with it being 6 foot going back. A lot of the fences in the community are set up like that with the old base homes. Just to keep privacy between each house, but all the ones facing out are 4 foot high and they've kept it down. I'm not really thrilled with being white. It just like this, it just kind of stands out, but that's, I can't argue with it. But I can also feel there are other solutions like a hedge, some kind of vegetation you could use. I don't know if that would keep your dogs in, but the dogs are not going to jump over a 4-foot fence. These dogs are about, 6 inches high, so that tall. So I don't think they need a 6-foot fence to keep them in. You mentioned it, and I feel too, that the requested variance is very substantial. It's 125 feet along Louisiana Avenue. That's a long piece of fence. That's wider than any of our lots. So to me, it's quite substantial. It can have a physical, and that's part I don't quite understand. If you look where that fence was drawn again, it's not very accurate. But you do have quite a large pine tree there too. And from the way I looked at it, it was very close to that pine tree, or almost like through it. Is that pine tree destined to come down as far as you're concerned?
No, it's got trimmed today, so that made room for a potential fence. It's all right behind it.
That pine tree there,
Yeah, it's safe, yeah, it's not one there, it's one right behind it.
and then the fence was planned to go around the shed that you have.
Yeah.
I just think this is the need for this variance is totally self-created. It's something that he bought this house, he just bought it. It's his due diligence to me to understand what the rules of a corner lot are, especially if he was coming with the intention of putting a fence there. So, again, I'm totally against it.
Okay.
I think you can put a 6 foot between, and you can put a 4 foot, that I'm okay with, but not 6 foot. Along these lines.
Okay, duly noted. Thank you. I'll just leave the public portion open. We want to do a motion.
I have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, what is this? Is there a possibility of putting a fence on the side yard? Would that work for,
If that's on the.
on this? On what looks like a side yard between,
Between 38 Louisiana and his 150 Main Street.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, that would be his neighbor.
So where all those trees are, there's a house there now.
There's a
So
house there.
that, the greenery there, that's the sort of the
Okay.
property line.
So I do recommend that if you, anybody of this board has not seen this property, right, you should go.
Well,
Property.
yeah, I think, actually, I would make that statement across the board, we should be at least doing a drive-by in almost all of our things. It doesn't take long. You may feel a little weird when you're sitting there and people walking by, it's equally,
Yeah,
but, you know, it's all part of the process. I mean, I did that today and went by your house about 4 times. The workers there working farther on down, I passed them a few times, it's like, okay, I gotta start questioning what I'm doing here.
this
Report.
one woman waved at me and she kind of looked in my car and I'm like, move along. I was right waiting for that.
But I guess I do think that we need a couple of things from you. First off, one, a little more accurate in regards to where the property line is, knowing what you know now.
I'll call it down tomorrow.
The other thing is, you might go down to the building inspector's office and ask to see the plans, because I found them very enlightening. To know where your house is relative to your property line. And you would probably be able to find a lot more information based on that. I think that no matter what we approve, I think some of us have an issue with the amount of variance. And being 6 foot, and that it's, I mean, right now it's literally almost on your property line. See what you can do to minimize it.
So I taught to do it just a straight angle up in that corner.
You know,
So they
so,
don't know.
Even if you wanted to come up to like 5 feet, that would be.
you know, and what you might do is come with what you'd like, and what you've heard from us. And then maybe some alternatives in case we give you some pushback. Then you say, well, okay, how about this? You know, the thing to realize that if we vote on it and turn it down, you can't come back for a year. Unless it's a significantly different plan. Okay. So I think you want to work it. And the gentleman has valid concerns. You know, looking at your front door and a wall of fence right across the street is. But you have a valid concern about privacy, and that is, it's your front yard, but it's your backyard. And that's.
We've had. We own another corner lot in another town, and we put a fence on it and they did. No, they mentioned nothing, they proved it right away, and that's why I didn't think anything of it, we just moved. Push back, and we had the permit and everything, and I'm part of it.
That was in the town.
Yeah, so that's why, you know, we didn't think anything of it.
And, you know, a city where people are walking is significantly different than the more your area gets populated, the more people will be walking. I mean, I know in our people in the established neighborhoods, there's people walking all the time.
It also matters the proximity to your neighbors.
if your neighbors were much closer to you, I would definitely be looking at this from a different perspective, but you have some pretty decent space between yourself and your neighbors all around you, with the exception of that one woman next to your transformer. That's why I was saying the 6-foot fence there is legit, but, that road is huge, and you've got the property and it's a tough one.
And
Yes,
the traffic is mainly, I don't want to use, but it's on Main, which is the road on the other side of his house. Louisiana is like between Maine and Kansas.
Yep.
And those seem to be the main traffic roads. Ours is not very, there's not that much traffic, just the people who live on the street. Yes, there's walking, and that's always been something in that whole area. People all do it for exercise. And I'm right next to that. But do I need to return every time you have another meeting on this, or?
What you said was read into the,
Okay,
into it, and if there's anyone who's voting on it that wasn't part of it, we will make mention of your concerns.
okay,
So there, because there is one person absent who would be primary, although if I have the 5, even he is here, I would have him sit out at these 5.
it's not that easy, like I said.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to hear from you today. No, kind of knowing you made the effort to come here, and we appreciate you doing that. Okay. So I'd like to have a motion to postpone. Or we have more information, knowing what you know, knowing what we do. I tried to get some of it, but unfortunately it didn't happen in time for the meeting, so.
Should I get a survey done or that help, or to see how we know what the sidewalk is?
I think you've got a pin. And you have a corner of the house. That gives you a pretty good, I mean, the pins are in fast. And assuming they put the house where the plan said it was going. Then you can get your property line there. And get a pretty good idea that it probably follows the same. Scope of the sidewalk of the curve, but you could check that knowing the corner of the house and do some measurements. And down to the inch, the surveyor's spot on, but most people can get a pretty good idea where the property lines
Yes,
are.
I looked around for a while, and from on that side. Fine, bias, there's a little blue light like transformers. But
Yeah.
That corner I tried, and supposedly they're going around that area and. Didn't find it anywhere, but
Well, your plans filed in the city may show where it is relative to those transformers also.
You can take the aerial view, you can get a known measurement. You know, from your pin to the road, and use that as a, you know, as a scale on an area view. That would be pretty accurate.
Okay.
So I make a motion to postpone, review of appeal number 2351 on behalf of the board, so we have the permission.
should I have like, maybe have pretty fence to like. 2 different drawings, maybe this one, and then if that's not, then this one.
Yeah, I mean, I would sit down and talk and go over what options you have and, you know, he may say, well, I can't do this, but I can do this. And, you know, tell him we're, you know, he's talking 8 feet from 8 feet from property line. And, you know, let them know the requirement is 20 feet from the property line. So that's significant, even if he does it at 8 feet, you're asking for a significant amount of variance. Which we're required to do the least. Or minimize the variance.
I'm gonna send you home with one last little piece. I have 3 dogs, one of them is a Great Pyrenees mix, he's huge. I was told no, and I came up for variance for a 6-foot fence, I have a 4-foot now on my front yard. And I love it. It's totally sufficient. My dogs cannot get over it. It's very private. You might be surprised. 4-foot fence gives you a lot of coverage and
Giant, right, I honestly didn't put anything big, so fences we had 6 feet, so this is what we,
yeah.
6 feet, that's what we know to go with, so.
Yeah, bring over some 4-foot fence, check it out.
Yeah, I ended up being really happy with that. Here now.
Did we get a second?
Yeah,
All in favor? I,
Would be next month's.
did we specify a length?
did not specify.
Let's modify it to specify a length.
Postpone to 2 months, to June or July, whatever's request for the applicant.
Yeah, June, if that's the next one.
That's fine, just in case there's a conflict, we've said, okay, there is. Okay,
Do I have to reapply or anything, or just come next?
yeah, just keep in contact with you to let her know that you will be there next time, and if you have other stuff that you want to give it to us ahead of time, that's always great, so we can kind of review it. And then you drive, creepy drive-bys.
I have one more little question on the fence between 38 Louisiana and his 150 Maine, where the neighbor is. Would the 6 foot have to start right away, or does it have to be 4 foot up to then where the house starts? The neighbor's house?
Technically, it would, to meet zoning, it would have to be 4 feet until he's 20 feet from the property line. And then it can step up to 16.
Of the neighbor's property? I'm confused.
His
The
property line on the
neighbor's
road-
house is set back according to whatever the rules
Well,
are. in
but
Louisiana.
it's 20 feet from his property line along the road.
Okay.
So the return that goes back would have to be zoning would have to be 4 feet until he got 20 feet from his front property line along the road.
Okay.
It could be 8 feet on his side yard, which is what is his border to his neighbor is considered a side yard.
Yeah.
And that can be 8 feet on that, but it can't be into the front yard setback, that first 20 feet.
Okay, so some of it would have to be 4, and then it would go up to 6 or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay? All right, so just keep in touch with it. What's your name? Lisa, that's it. It escaped me. It's been a long day. Just let her know that she's gonna be back, so she's sure that it keep it on the agenda. Okay. And if she doesn't hear from you, she probably approach you, she usually does. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
If you want to do minutes, but.
We first have to
Oh.
do the 23,
Oh, I
42. What did we? So, look at this. What have we done?
It's supposed to be back.
For 1 month. So. Let's do it for another month, 2341, 2342.
So I make a motion to postpone. The review of appeal number 2341, 2342 on behalf of the applicant for Bernal.
Yes,
Now, why are you postponing them?
he can get his information.
Because he wasn't able to.
I'm not sure. Yeah. didn't do the information that Deer Lake had.
But that was from 2 months ago, right? That's because I wasn't here during, whatever, we were in May, I wasn't here in April, I was here in March. And we had postponed so that he could get that information.
Into April, and in April, he didn't have it, so we postponed on his behalf that time. In April, and we're postponing a second month on his behalf. We gave him the first month on our behalf,
Okay.
okay?
Where was it? How many? So that's.
Generally-
I need to go to.
Generally, it's 2 months on the applicant's behalf.
But then does it automatically go to a no? But deny.
No, I don't believe it goes to a denial, he has to reapply.
Okay.
We just don't act on it.
In 2347 is never filled out, correct?
Well, that's a different, we'll talk about that, let's do. 41 and, is it 41 and 42, do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
You know, we'll take it there, all in favor? Aye. Okay, then we have. Deal with 2347. We postponed last one on his behalf, because we haven't heard from him. Due to applicant unavailability, we haven't, let's give him one more month on his behalf, and he doesn't show.
So I make a motion to postpone you, deal number 2347 for 1 month on applicant's behalf.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Now you
I
can
make
do
a
it.
motion to approve the April minutes. No changes.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yes.